February 1994, President's Day. A man drives his Jaguar out of his Arlington, Virginia driveway. Before he reaches the next block, FBI vehicles surround him from every direction. Armed agents pull him from the car and place him in handcuffs. His name is Aldrich Ames, a veteran of the Central Intelligence Agency. For 9 years, he sold America's most sensitive secrets to the Soviet Union and Russia. He handed over the names of every CIA agent inside the KGB. At least 10 of them were executed because of him. He earned millions while the CIA looked the other way. He passed 2 polygraph tests while spying for the enemy. He rose through the ranks while agents died because of his betrayal. How did a mediocre alcoholic CIA officer become the most damaging mole in American history? 1952, Aldrich Ames's father Carlton joins the Central Intelligence Agency. The family moves to Virginia, just minutes from CIA headquarters in Langley. Young Aldrich grows up surrounded by spies. His classmates are children of CIA officers. In the summer of 1957, teenage Aldrich starts working at the CIA. He files documents, marks classified papers, and makes fake money for training exercises. The job is boring, but it pays. In 1959, Ames enters the University of Chicago. He plans to study foreign cultures and history. He fails to finish his second year. In the summer of 1960, he returns to the CIA as a laborer and painter. By February 1962, working full-time at the CIA as a clerk typist. In 1967, he earns a bachelor's degree in history. During this period, police arrest him multiple times for alcohol-related incidents. His drinking is already a problem. Despite his mediocre record, the CIA accepts him into the career trainee program in 1967. He trains as a case officer, learning to recruit foreign agents. His psychological evaluation scores are low, but he finishes with strong marks. In 1969, Ames receives his first overseas assignment, Ankara, Turkey. His job is to recruit Soviet intelligence officers as CIA assets. He marries Nancy Segabarth, a fellow CIA officer he met during training. Because CIA rules prohibit married couples from working in the same office, Nancy resigns. His performance in Turkey is rated satisfactory. His superiors note that he is unsuited for field work. They recommend he spend the rest of his career at headquarters. Ames considers quitting. He returns to Washington in 1972 and spends the next 9 years working Soviet operations from headquarters. In 1981, Ames accepts a posting to Mexico City. His wife stays behind in New York. The marriage is already dying. In Mexico, Ames drinks heavily and has multiple affairs. His performance reviews are mediocre at best. At one diplomatic reception, he gets so drunk he starts a loud argument with a Cuban official. Then he meets Rosario. Maria del Rosario Casas Dupuy is a Colombian cultural attaché at her country's embassy. She is also a CIA informant. Ames begins an affair with her in October 1982. He violates CIA regulations by failing to report his relationship with a foreign national. In September 1983, Ames returns to CIA headquarters. Despite his poor performance and drinking problems, he receives a promotion. He becomes chief of the Soviet branch of the counterintelligence group. He now oversees CIA operations against the KGB outside the Soviet Union. His new position grants him access to the most sensitive secrets in American intelligence. The names of every Soviet agent secretly working for the CIA. At the same time, his personal life is falling apart. His divorce from Nancy is bitter and expensive. He agrees to pay her debts and provide monthly support totaling $46,000. Rosario has expensive tastes. She runs up phone bills of $400 a month calling her family in Colombia. She expects a lifestyle beyond what Ames can afford on his $60,000 salary. The financial pressure mounts. The debts pile up. Ames looks at the classified files on his desk and sees a solution. April 16, 1985. Aldrich Ames walks into the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C. He approaches a guard and hands over a sealed envelope. The letter is addressed to the KGB chief in Washington. Inside, Ames introduces himself as a CIA officer with access to sensitive information. He lists the names of several Soviets who have secretly volunteered to work for the CIA. He asks for $50,000 in return. The KGB responds quickly. They want more. In May 1985, Ames meets Sergei Chavakin for lunch at a popular restaurant in Georgetown. Chuvakin is officially a Soviet diplomat. In reality, he is a KGB officer. The CIA believes Ames is trying to recruit Chuvakin as an American asset. They believe Ames is recruiting Chuvakin. The truth is the opposite. Chuvakin hands Ames an envelope under the table. Inside is $50,000 in cash, more than enough to cover his debts and to satisfy Rosario. Ames later claims he planned a one-time deal, a quick con to solve his financial problems. But something shifts inside him. He realizes he has crossed a line. He can never step back. The money is too easy and access is too valuable. The KGB is willing to pay for everything he knows. In June 1985, Ames walks out of CIA headquarters carrying plastic bags filled with classified documents. He meets Chuvakin for lunch and hands over 6 pounds of secrets. The documents contain the names of over 10 top-level CIA and FBI sources inside the Soviet Union. He is handing over death sentences. Among the names is Valery Martinov, a KGB officer stationed at the Soviet embassy in Washington. The CIA recruited him in 1982. He provides Xeroxed documents exposing KGB operations in America. He identifies Soviet intelligence officers operating on American soil. He does it for the thrill of the game. Among the names is Sergei Motorin, another KGB officer at the Soviet embassy. The FBI caught him cheating on his wife and blackmailed him into cooperation. He reveals the identity of every KGB officer at the embassy. Among the names is Dmitry Polyakov, a colonel in the GRU, Soviet military intelligence. He has been secretly working for the Americans for over 20 years. He provides intelligence on Soviet missile systems, nuclear strategy, and biological warfare, despises the communist system, and spies for freedom. Ames knows all of them. Their names, positions, families. The certainty of their arrest and execution is clear to him. He hands over their names anyway. He wants the money and to eliminate anyone who might expose him. In August 1985, his divorce from Nancy becomes final. He immediately marries Rosario. To explain his sudden wealth, he tells colleagues that Rosario comes from a wealthy Colombian family. He wires money to her relatives in Bogota to make the story believable. The KGB pays him generously. Every lunch with Chuvakin brings another envelope. $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. The payments keep coming. Within months, Soviet agents across the world begin to disappear. The CIA watches in horror as its network collapses. Asset after asset goes silent. Source after source vanishes. The agency knows something is terribly wrong. The agency suspects a communications breach, broken codes, or Edward Lee Howard, a former CIA officer who defected to the Soviets. They suspect everyone except the man sitting at headquarters, filing reports, attending meetings, and collecting cash from the enemy. Late 1985, the executions begin. Valery Martinov receives strange orders from Moscow. The KGB instructs him to escort a suspected defector back to the Soviet Union. It seems like a routine assignment. It is a trap. The moment Martinov lands in Moscow, officers arrest him. They drag him to Lefortovo prison and interrogate him for months. In 1987, a firing squad executes him. He is 41 years old. Sergei Motorin faces the same fate. The KGB recalls him to Moscow under false pretenses. They arrest him, interrogate him, and charge him with treason. In 1988, they execute him. Dmitry Polyakov, the GRU colonel who spied for America for over 20 years, returns to Moscow in 1980, looking forward to retirement. 8 years later, the Soviet Union executes him. His loss devastates the CIA. He provided some of the most valuable intelligence in Cold War history. One CIA officer later says of Polyakov, "He did this out of principle and insisted on staying in place to help us." At least 10 CIA sources are executed because of Aldrich Ames. Dozens more are arrested, imprisoned, and interrogated. The CIA's entire network inside the Soviet Union collapses. Meanwhile, Ames prepares for his next assignment. In 1986, he must pass a polygraph examination before his overseas posting to Rome. The KGB advises him to stay calm and build rapport with the examiner. Years later, the FBI reviews the test and finds clear signs of deception. The original examiner missed them all. Ames arrives in Rome in the summer of 1986. His new KGB handler is Alexei Krenkov. They meet openly, pretending Ames is trying to recruit him as a CIA source. In reality, Ames is handing over top-secret documents in exchange for cash. By his own estimate, Ames passes along 1,000 documents per year. The KGB urges him to slow down. Their small team in Moscow struggles to process the flood of secrets. With his Soviet cash, Ames indulges in every luxury Rome offers. He once drinks so much at an embassy reception, he passes out in the street. Colleagues notice his lifestyle. To hide his growing fortune, Ames opens Swiss bank accounts. One account is registered in his mother-in-law's name, with Ames listed as trustee. Switzerland's strict banking secrecy laws protect his secret. In 1989, the family returns to Washington later that year. Ames has been spying for 4 years. He has earned over $2 million. Back in Washington, Ames buys a $540,000 house in Arlington, Virginia. His monthly phone bills exceed $6,000. His salary is $60,000 a year. His lifestyle screams millions. The CIA is beginning to notice. November 1989, a CIA employee sounds the alarm. Aldrich Ames is living far beyond his means. His wife's family is less wealthy than he claims. The discrepancy between his government salary and his extravagant lifestyle is impossible to ignore. Suspicion grows steadily within the agency. The warning lands on the desk of Jeanne Vertefeuille. Vertefeuille is a quiet, unassuming woman who prefers to let her work speak for itself. She started at the CIA as a typist, entering the agency at the lowest rung, and over the course of decades rose steadily to become one of the agency's leading experts on Soviet espionage. She dedicates her entire life to the CIA, sacrificing personal pursuits in service to her mission. In 1986, the agency assigned her to investigate why so many Soviet assets disappeared in 1985, vanishing one after another in a devastating wave of losses. For years, her small team chases dead ends, pursuing leads that go nowhere. They examine communication breaches, looking for technological failures that might explain the catastrophe. They analyze broken codes, searching for evidence that the Soviets had cracked American encryption. They investigate dozens of employees, scrutinizing backgrounds and behaviors of countless personnel. The work is slow and frustrating, grinding forward at an agonizing pace. The agency struggles to accept that one of their own is a traitor, that someone within their ranks has betrayed everything they stand for. In December 1990, investigator Dan Payne sends a memo requesting a full financial investigation into Ames. He flags the lavish spending and emphasizes the urgency of taking immediate action. The CIA fails to act. The agency is distracted by the Iran-Contra scandal, consumed by the political firestorm and congressional investigations. Ames remains free, continuing his espionage without interference. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapses, fundamentally reshaping the global political landscape. The KGB rebrands itself as the SVR, restructuring under a new name while maintaining its operational capabilities. Ames worries that his payments will stop now that his original handlers have been swept away. They continue without interruption. That same year, the CIA and FBI finally join forces. They form a joint mole hunting team, pooling their resources and expertise. Vertefeuille leads the CIA side. The team includes Sandy Grimes, Dan Payne, Diana Worthen, and Paul Redman. Redman is a legendary CIA officer with a distinguished career spanning decades. He intensely dislikes Ames on a personal level. He considers him lazy, unwilling to put in the effort the job demands. He considers him arrogant, displaying unearned superiority. He considers him incompetent, failing to meet basic professional standards. His personal dislike sharpens his suspicion. The team compiles a list of 150 CIA employees who had access to the compromised agents. They narrow it down to 28 suspects through careful elimination. Then they do something unscientific, relying on intuition rather than evidence. Each team member ranks the people who make them most uneasy. Aldrich Ames rises to the top of every single list. In 1991, Ames takes another polygraph examination. The examiners are never told about the suspicions surrounding his wealth. They never question him about the source of his money. When asked if he works for a foreign intelligence service, he appears entirely truthful. He passes again. In August 1992, Sandy Grimes makes a breakthrough. She reviews Ames's bank records with meticulous attention and builds a comprehensive timeline of his activities since 1985. She notices a pattern emerging. Every large cash deposit follows a meeting with Soviet diplomat Sergei Chuvakin. Each meeting with Chuvakin leads directly to a large deposit in his bank account. Grimes runs to the front office. She tells Paul Redman that Rick Ames is the spy. In January 1993, Vertifeuille's team briefs the FBI. The Bureau takes over the case, bringing its formidable investigative resources to bear. By May 1993, the FBI opens a full investigation. Agents search Ames' trash while he travels for work and find a draft post-it note confirming a meeting with the SVR in Bogota, Colombia. Wiretaps on his home phone and hidden microphones inside his house capture Rosario discussing his meetings with the Russians. She is overheard saying, "Well, honey, I hope you didn't screw up." His computer hard drive reveals a list of signal sites and dead drop locations. In October 1993, the FBI photographs Ames leaving a chalk mark on a mailbox in Georgetown. The mark signals the SVR that he is ready for a meeting. February 1994, the CIA schedules Aldrich Ames for a trip to Moscow. The FBI panics. If Ames boards that plane, he may never return. He could defect like Edward Lee Howard and disappear into Russia forever. Moscow has promised him land on a riverbank where he can build his dream home. The FBI cannot risk losing him. They decide to arrest him before he leaves the country. February 21st, 1994, President's Day, Ames receives a call from CIA headquarters. Urgent intelligence requires his attention before the Moscow trip. He must come to the office immediately. He pulls out of his driveway in Arlington, Virginia. Within seconds, cars surround his Jaguar from all sides. Armed FBI agents order him out of the vehicle and place him in handcuffs. Armed FBI agents surround the vehicle. They order him out of the car. They place him in handcuffs. While agents secure Ames on the street, another team moves on his house. Over the radio, he hears the words, "We've secured the house." Journalist David Wise, who chronicled the case, describes how Ames mutters two words, "Oh, fuck." Agents bring him to an interrogation room. The walls are covered with photographs, dead drop sites, signal locations, cities where he was stationed. Evidence of 9 years of betrayal surrounds him. FBI agent John Lewis describes Ames's reaction. He looked like the wind was knocked out of him. He was asked to sit down. When he looked around at the walls, his head sank, and he couldn't look up. The following day, the Department of Justice formally charges Aldrich and Rosario Ames with conspiracy to commit espionage. The case makes headlines across the world. A CIA officer has been spying for the Soviets and Russians for nearly a decade. He betrayed at least 14 Soviet agents who were secretly working for the CIA. At least 10 of them were executed. On April 28, 1994, Aldrich Ames pleads guilty to espionage charges. Before sentencing, he addresses the court. "I bitterly regret the catastrophe which my betrayal of trust has brought upon my family and upon any who have loved or cared for me." He receives a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Rosario paints herself as a victim. She tells the media she hates her husband and claims he manipulated her. She says she discovered his spying late in the game. Both she and Aldrich fail polygraph tests about when she truly learned he was a spy. Rosario receives a sentence of 5 years in prison. She serves 4.5 with good behavior. After her release, she returns to South America. Jeanne Vertifeuille, the quiet woman who dedicated her life to catching the mole, finally sits across from Ames during his debriefing. He admits that when he realized the KGB was rounding up double agents, he tried to deflect suspicion onto her. Vertifeuille later admits she wanted to strangle him at first, but then she laughed. The man who tried to blame her was sitting in chains. Aldrich Ames earned $4.6 million for his betrayal. He compromised over 100 American intelligence operations. When asked if he knew they would be killed, he answered simply, "Yes, I did." Today, Aldrich Ames sits in a federal prison cell. He is 84 years old, serving life without parole at the Federal Correctional Institution in Terre Haute, Indiana. The agents he betrayed are gone forever. They trusted America to protect them. Aldrich Ames sold them for cash. He is still alive. They are still dead.